And I'm going to share just a little bit of introductory material for you, and then we're going to move on to the main event. I can't think of anything more important than learning more about what to expect in this election, and that's our goal for tonight. Let me give you a few introductory reminders. We are recording this event, and we will then post it on our website as well as YouTube. So if you know of someone who is interested, concerned, there are some people freaking out about, what the election will be, this is going to be a good resource for those folks. So please keep that in mind and please share with others. The other thing I wanted to mention is a little bit of calendarizing. We do a lot of calendarizing. I believe we're at 22 days till the end of this election cycle, more or less. So to November 3rd anyway. Tomorrow is the registration books closed. So it's the last day to register. And we have had some inquiries even this weekend of people trying to register. So that's important. Advanced voting by mail begins on Wednesday, the 14th. And the ballots get mailed to people who have requested advanced ballots on the 14th. We also have 2 events scheduled for this week. So more Zoom events coming up. They have the candidates conversation with Shannon Portillo and Shannon Reed, who are both running for the county commission seats in District 2 and District 3. Shannon Reed is District 2, Shannon Portillo is District 3. These are great candidates, and it's important for you to listen to them. I hope you will come and join us. On Saturday, October 7th, the 14th is 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, October 17th, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. is a conversation with Tom Holland, who is running for re-election to the Senate, State Senate. So again, please join us. We've got more information and registration information on our website, and we'll be delighted to have you at all of those, or those that are interesting to you. The deadline to request an advanced ballot is October 27th. Advanced voting closes on Monday, November 2nd, and the general election for those who haven't already voted would be then on Tuesday, November 3rd. You're going to hear a lot more about that tonight from our speaker. And right now, I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator, one of our moderators, who will then introduce the other moderator, and Jamie Shew. Amii Castle is moderating tonight. Amii has practiced law for 20 years in Kansas City. She was a graduate of the KU Law School, and 5 years ago came back to teach at KU. She teaches courses related to law in the law school and the business school, and also teaches constitutional law. One of her passions is voting. She is the founder and faculty advisor of ACLU at KU, a board member of the ACLU of Kansas, and a member of our executive council for the Douglas County Dems. You can find her at just about any event. She will be out there when it's safe to do it. And once we get a little safer, she'll be out there with renewed passion. She believes in voter registration, and she believes in helping students be active voters and engaged in the political process. That is her true gift. Amii, I'm turning it over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Thumbs up. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the nice introduction, Pat. And thank you to those who are on this Zoom call for attending this most important meeting on voting. Let's face it, the rules of voting are so confusing, right? Voter IDs, birth certificates, deadlines, advanced ballots by mail. And when you add on to that, the voter suppression tactics that are going on, your head spins, right? So we asked Jamie Shew to come and talk to us about voting tonight. And so I'm going to introduce him in just a moment. I would like to introduce my co-moderator, Ononna Rahman, who is, Ononna, maybe you can give a wave there. Ononna is a KU student and also very much involved in leadership at the ACLU of KU. Ononna is actually going to be taking the questions if that you might have for Jamie. I'll explain that in just a moment. So a couple of quick rules. If everybody will keep your microphones on mute so that if you sneeze or cough, then we don't see you. And if you have a question, like I say, if you will please send that to Ononna Rahman, and she'll field those questions, and we will ask Jamie those questions. So I'd like to introduce our esteemed guest. Jamie Shew was elected Douglas County District Court, Douglas County elections clerk in 2004, and is currently serving his fourth term. As county clerk, Jamie is responsible for administering all of the national and state and local elections in Douglas County. And since he has taken office, Jamie has led a complete redesign of the election process in Douglas County, focusing on accessibility, organization, effectiveness, and efficiency. He's been recognized for his innovative initiatives in creating the Douglas County Voter ID program and birth certificate assistance programs. Jamie has been recognized, excuse me, by the League of Women Voters for open and transparent government, and has achieved the Master County Clerk status in Kansas. In short, Jamie Shew tries to make it easier for folks to vote rather than harder. So with that said, Jamie, welcome. Thank you for being here. And I thought I would get things started with a question that I'm sure that is probably on everyone's mind. If I mail in my ballot, is it safe?
Yes, there are quite a few security features that we have with the mail-in ballot. And so, there's lots of misinformation that's kind of out there right now. And that's part of what I hope to kind of talk about. But, when when you mail your ballot back, or you put it in a drop box, or you take it to a polling place, or you can take it to an advanced site. So I kind of refer to it as vote at home versus mail voting. Because there's lots of ways to kind of return your ballot. You sign it and send it back to us. And, one of the first things is people are saying that if it's not signed, then we automatically get rid of that ballot. And that's not true. Our office will contact you to get that ballot signed. We have teams that will go out and get your signature if you can't get to the courthouse. And then, those ballots are treated. We have an audit process where we follow those ballots from the time that they come into our office all the way to the time that they are part of the results on election night. So, there's just a lot of things that we have in place to ensure that that ballot is treated in a way just like it would be on election day.
So Jamie, if a person has requested an advanced ballot by mail and they get that ballot, they can return that ballot either by mail or at a drop box location or at a polling site that's open for early voting, or of course the courthouse at 11th and Mass. Is that right?
That's right. And then also polling places on election day. We worked a few years ago with the legislature to change some advanced laws to kind of be a little more voter centric. And one of those was that it used to be that you had to vote provisional if you dropped off a ballot at a polling place, but now you can just drop it off at any polling place on election day. So if you've forgotten to use a drop box, or if you just want to drop it off with a person, you can do it also at a polling place. But so there's lots of options for the way that you can get your ballot to us that doesn't require using the mail system.
So Jamie, if a person mails in their ballot, is there a mechanism for them to track when it's received by your office and the like? Is there, how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a thing that's called Ballot Scout. So if you go to our website, douglascountyelections.com, you can sign up on Ballot Scout. And Ballot Scout does two things. The first thing is it allows us to track your ballot all the way through the system. So we, once it's in the mail stream, we'll be able to see where your ballot is and all the way to your house, and then on the way back to the courthouse. And then for you, you can sign up and put in your email and text, and you will get notifications for when the ballot is, where it is through the mail stream and how it's being processed. And you'll be able to also see once the ballot is at the courthouse and once it's been accepted and received. And so Ballot Scout is a great opportunity for voters to have the comfort of kind of seeing where their ballot is through the process. But for us, it's a great tool because we send them out in batches. We can see if, let's say there's a batch that's kind of sitting an extra day at the Kansas City processing station, we can call Kansas City and move that batch along. So it helps both our office and the voters.
Do you know, is that something that the other 104 counties are doing in Kansas? Can other folks track their ballots with a platform like that, or is that something that's sort of, as you're always progressive, Jamie, on voting, is that something that we should feel kind of lucky in Douglas County to have?
First of all, I need to kind of apologize. We got a puppy, and the puppy and our other dog have chosen this moment to wrestle at the base of my feet. So that's what you're hearing in the background.
Those are the rules on Zoom. Like, there are no rules about background noise. So continue,
right. So we're the only ones that have Ballot Scout. We're working with Democracy Works to make that happen. So we're the first one to use Ballot Scout. It took quite a bit of work because you have to kind of you have to build intelligent mail barcodes that go on the ballots, and that way we can track as we go along. And so the staff spent about a year getting ready to do this. And we were going to do Ballot Scout anyway. We were going to do Ballot Scout anyway. We didn't plan on how that would actually impact in a time of COVID, really, with this many mail ballots.
So, speaking of the drop-off location, how many drop-off boxes are there in Douglas County?
We have 10. We had 3 in the primary, and then we added 7 more for this election. That includes 3 that are in our outlying communities, Eudora, Baldwin, and Lecompton. And they're at the city halls at Eudora, Baldwin, and Lecompton. And then the rest of them we tried to spread throughout Lawrence so that they were kind of equally throughout the city, so that everybody kind of has access to them regardless of where you are located.
Thank you, Jamie. So switching for a moment from advanced voting, if I wanted to go to the polls and vote, either early voting or on election day, what sorts of measures have you taken to make sure that I'm safe from COVID? Can you kind of tell me what I might expect different than in prior years, if anything, for any precautions COVID related?
Well, there's quite a few precautions that we took. In August, we put in a lot of mitigation efforts that worked pretty well. And so that includes minimizing contact between the voters and the poll workers. So there are plexiglass screens between the voters and the poll workers. There are no shared items. And so when you come in, you're kind of issued a stylus pin. That's what you use to sign into the poll book. And then that's what you mark your ballot with. And you leave with that stylus pin. So we kind of took away those type of things. And then we worked with the poll workers on ways that we minimize really kind of contact through the provisional ballot process. Even, it used to be you were handed an I voted sticker, and now you kind of grab your own I voted sticker. Then we have lots of hand sanitizer that is available for everyone. The board workers have gloves to use at certain times. And then we also then just wipe down all of the surfaces on a regular basis throughout election day.
Terrific. And you've mentioned provisional voting or provisional ballots a couple of times. I just want to make sure that folks understand what that means. Like, can, can you explain that? Like, you walk in and you don't have the proper stuff. So how does that work? What is a provisional ballot, and how is it ultimately counted, or is there a risk that it's not?
Well, it is. I'm glad that you brought that up because provisional ballot is actually a protection of the voter. It used to be a couple decades ago that if you showed up to vote and you weren't on the poll books, there was nothing you could do. You were turned away from the polls. Kansas was actually a leader of the provisional ballot in the 1990s. And what it does is it allows you to cast your ballot, we capture it, and then we're able to do the research and figure out why it is that maybe you weren't on the poll book, or is a change of address because you just moved and you didn't give us an update on your registration. And then we will count it during the canvass. So the canvass will happen on November 16th, which is actually when everything is official. On November 3rd, there is actually no one's elected on November 3rd. It's truly on November 16th when that happens. Provisional ballots are part of a federally protected process. And so you may read all kinds of stories. You may read all kinds of stories about, that they don't get counted unless it's close, that type of stuff. Yeah. You may read stories that it's not counted unless it's close and stuff, and those are all not true. There are very strict laws about how we handle provisional ballots, and we count about 85 to 87% of all the provisional ballots because normally they're change of address. So it is something that is not. If you have to do a provisional ballot, it's not something that you should be afraid of because it gets treated with just the same as all the other ballots. But it kind of bothers me that provisional ballots are kind of thought of as a negative thing, and they're really just a protection for the voter.
So, and to dovetail on that, it seems like some of the negative publicity, if you will, about provisional voting is that you hear stories that folks provisionally voted and then their vote wasn't counted. Is there a way for a person who voted provisionally to double check on with your office to make sure their vote counted, or if not, why, and they could maybe take care of that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of parts of that. The first one is when you get your provisional ballot, you'll actually get a receipt from us, which is a little slip of paper that tells you you have a federal right to find out what happened to your ballot, the ways that you can contact our office. If you need to do something like share an ID with us, how you can get that to us. And then a larger thing is that if it is something like ID, our office will contact you to make sure that we can get you an ID. So you have a right to know what's going on with your provisional ballot. So it is not something where you don't get to know what's going on with your provisional ballot.
And it looks like we had a question from somebody who um, is asking about this person would like to vote at the courthouse and would like to avoid lines. Do you expect, Jamie, that either on election day or early voting, or particularly on election day, do you anticipate any sort of um, lines at the polls, or is it more to the contrary that probably more people are voting by mail and that likely there won't be lines? Or I don't know, or maybe you can't even forecast that, but do you have any insights on that?
Well, that's why we are doing something we've never done before, which is usually on the first day of advance voting, which is October 14th, we just open the courthouse and then we add sites throughout the time leading up to the election. We're opening 4 sites on October 14th, 2329 South Iowa, the fairgrounds, and the golf course superintendent's building. And they have tons of space for social distancing. If you've ever voted at the courthouse, it's a great old building, but it is not conducive to lots of people voting and for there to be social distancing. So we're opening all of those on October 14th. I think what usually happens on the first couple days, everybody tries to vote, but we will be voting during the 20 days. So, don't come on the first day if you want to avoid a line, but by next week, I'm sure that especially mid-morning, mid-afternoon is a good time to try to advance vote.
And if I go to the polls, what do I need to bring?
Same thing that we've had since 2012, which is just a photo ID, and it can be any government issued photo ID. That includes a government employee ID, a passport, a driver's license, and we're just checking the name and photo. So it's really important for everyone to kind of know that we will accept any state or territory's driver's license because we're just looking at the name and the photo. We're not matching the address.
So that's actually a really good question, Jamie, because I was registering voters a couple of weeks ago, and there was a somebody who had just moved to Douglas County from within the state of Kansas, and had just moved to Douglas County, who asked me, so do I have to have a new ID with my Douglas County resident in order to vote? So you're saying that y'all aren't looking at that. You're just literally matching name to face.
That is correct.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, what if I don't have a government issued ID?
Well, in Douglas County, we have a free voter ID that we'll create for you. So if you have nothing and you don't have access to anything, we will create a voter ID for you. It's really simple. You can contact our office. We will actually come take your picture if you can't get down to the courthouse. But we introduced that right after photo ID came into effect so that to make sure that that is not a barrier for anyone. And if you go to the polling place, you are not turned away if you don't have your photo ID. You just need to give us a copy of your photo ID by the canvass on the 16th. And if you don't have a photo ID, we will get you that free Douglas County photo ID by the canvass.
And Jamie, is that like via email? How would somebody do that?
So there's a couple ways to do it. One is to call us at 832-5267 to set that up. Or elections@douglascountyks.org. They can send an email and set that up with us.
Awesome. Awesome. So I like to vote by mail personally. I have to request an advance. I have to make that request each election, right? Both primary, general, no matter what. In the state of Kansas, if you want to ask for a mail-in ballot, you have to do that each election, right?
Yes. So Kansas requires an application for each election. There's a permanent advance. So if you are a person for which mobility, if there's a reason why you really can't get to the polls, you can apply for permanent advance. And what that does is that will send you a ballot each time. But that's only for people that qualify for permanent advance. For everybody else, they need to fill out an application for each election.
Awesome. Awesome. And it looks like we had a question come in. This actually from Jolene Anderson looks like a law school question, honestly. Theoretically, someone requested a mail-in ballot last summer, but they forgot. They show up in person to vote on October 14th. Will the election worker give them the choice of waiting until their ballot comes in the mail instead of filing a provisional ballot? Does that make sense, Jamie?
That does make sense. Now the puppy needs to go outside.
Somebody put in the chat function, Jamie, we love puppies. So
I know. I'll have to show a picture of the puppy here in a second.
There you go.
So the ballots will go out on, actually they're going to the Postal Service tomorrow, and then they'll go into the mail stream on Wednesday. And so if a person shows up, they will be marked as advanced because a ballot has been issued at their name. So they would be a provisional voter if they want to vote in person. We tell the board workers at the advanced sites that they can say, you know, we mailed it today. If you want to wait and see if it shows up, you can, but you can also choose to vote provisionally. And what that provisional does is it just makes sure that there's not a double vote. So if you decide to vote in person provisionally, then you get your mail ballot, you just don't return it, and then we count that provisional ballot. If for some reason, so what happens a lot is sometimes people will mail it before the election day and they'll come in and say, I don't know if you're going to get it in time. What do I do? We'll also say vote provisionally. Then if we do receive your ballot on time, we won't count the provisional ballot. But if we don't receive it on time, then we will count your provisional ballot. So it's kind of flips both ways, not only at the beginning of advanced voting, but at the end.
Awesome. Awesome. And when is the deadline to request a mail-in ballot?
So the deadline to request a mail-in ballot is October 27th, which is 1 week before the election. I will tell you that that really is cutting it close, because if you do it on that 27th, we're going to mail it to you, and you would receive it, you know, hopefully by like that Friday or Saturday. And if your plan is to mail it back, it's going to be really close to get it back to us on time. You can still use the drop boxes or drop it off at a polling place or something like that. But you know, if you're going to request a mail ballot, we really suggest that you go ahead and do that now.
Awesome. Another question from the audience. Do you have any suggestions regarding returning completed ballots, given the concerns about the United States Postal Service?
Well, I'll have to tell you, first of all, I serve on a national committee that's worked with the Postal Service and elections officers, and we have been having quite a few conversations over the past month or so. We have a really good relationship with the Kansas City Processing Center and the local Lawrence office. And we have been assured that the things that we have done to help expedite the ballots still will be in place. So we redesigned our ballots so that they have a color stripe on them so that the people in the processing center can see them in the mail stream and grab them and move them along faster than other mail. So I still have confidence in that process, but I do recommend, if you're going to mail it sooner rather than later, especially if you know somebody who is mailing from somewhere on other parts of the country. So we are seeing a pretty good turnaround from people who mail in this vicinity to us. But we do see that it's taking a little while if you're mailing from California or New York or Florida to get across the country. So the key is when you're done with it, get it in the mail stream as soon as you can.
Can you, unfortunately, the deadline for voter registration is tomorrow, so this might be not super applicable, but can you just explain the rule very quickly about a 17-year-old who wants to register to vote? How, like, when is the first opportunity that they can register? Obviously, I think they have to be 18, right, on election day, but when is the earliest opportunity that they could be registered to vote?
Well, they can register anytime that they're 17. And they just won't become an active voter until election day. And one of the things that's really important is if someone is turning 18 between tomorrow and election day, they still need to be registered by tomorrow. So they can't wait and register when they're 18 if it's, say, October 30th is their birthday. I have a November 1st birthday, so I know what that's like. So that's one big thing, is if they're turning 18, they need to be registered by tomorrow in order to be able to participate in this election.
Good to know. Good to know. Another question, when does a mail-in ballot have to be received at your office to be counted?
So if it's going into a drop box or it's being dropped at our office or a polling place, it needs to be by 7 p.m. on election day. If it's by mail, it needs to have a postmark for election day and received in our office by Friday after that. So that's why that's a change that we got in the legislature a couple years ago. And that's why you'll see that we will be adding votes on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because those are votes that we're getting in that have a valid postmark.
Very good. Okay. When does your office start counting ballots? Do you wait until November 3rd, or is this a continuing process? How does your office deal with the incoming advanced ballots?
That's a really good question. It's one we've been getting quite a bit. So Kansas is not a state that requires us to wait until after the election is over to start opening all the envelopes and stuff. So we actually have a process that once it kind of comes into our office, that we do signature verification, and then it goes to an independent board that kind of verifies that we checked in the right ballot. Then it gets separated from the envelope, and then we try to scan them in as soon as we can. So it's really important for people to understand what we're allowed to do is scan in the ballot into the system, but we're not allowed to tabulate or do any results or do any actual counting until 7 p.m. on election day. But we really try to get them scanned in as quickly as possible. Partially, I worry about a lot of things, and one of the things I worry about is, let's say the vault where they're stored, something were to happen in there. I like having the electronic record of that ballot as a backup. Then at 7 p.m., we're allowed to then run the results and to count the ballots, but they're already scanned in. So that's why the first results you'll see from Douglas County at about 7:30 or 7:45 are all the advance, both in person and mail, that we've processed up till 7 on election day. So that first, and a lot of people will ask us about that because we'll add like 10,000 ballots and they'll say 0 precincts counted. Well, that's because if we were to say all the precincts, it would be 100% of the precincts. So for us, we are able to put out our results it'll probably be more like 7:45 on this election, but we are not a state where the results would be held up because of the advance rules.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. Another question. If someone is moving to Douglas County the last week of October, what should they do in order to vote?
That's another really good question. They can go ahead and register now. The key is that you are living at that address when you vote on election day. So we get that quite a bit, or someone says, I'm building a house and it won't be done until the end of October. You can go ahead and register, and you're declaring on your voter registration that you reside at the time that you vote.
Very good. I remember Mark Johnson, lawyer in the voting rights space. It rings in my head. You can actually register to vote twice. You can't vote twice, right? So you can actually, if you're living in one place, you can register as long as you're there the day that you're voting. So,
right.
All right. A final question that I have for you that somebody asked about do you have enough poll workers and ballot counters? Do you have any suggestions what we can do to help you on November 3rd?
Well, I'll be honest, the community has been amazing. We were struggling in August to have enough poll workers. We now have about 300 more than we need on election day. The community has stepped up with all kinds of people that say they want to help. So right now we're in really good shape, and we're doing our best to try to find something for those individuals to do to help us out. But I am so pleased with how this community has kind of said, we realize that with COVID, a lot of the board workers can't work. What can we do to help?
LFK.
Right.
There you go. All right. Looks like we just got another quick question. What is the best way to update my change of address?
ksvotes.org.
Right. Fill out a new voter registration form with your new address. You'll indicate your prior address and your new address, and you should be good to go. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jamie, that's all the questions that have come in from our panelists. That's all the questions that I have. Is there any information that you want people to have that we haven't had a chance to cover tonight?
Yeah, I think there's something I really want to talk about, which is there is a tremendous amount of misinformation that is going through social media and on the internet. Some of it is just from people being misinformed, but there is purposeful misinformation that's out there. So it's really important that if you have a question, contact our office, send us an email, or contact me. I'm Shew, SHEW, at Douglas County Elections at DouglasCountyKS.org. It is so important right now that we kind of combat that. One of the things that I want everyone to know is your mail ballot is treated just the same as an in-person ballot. And so it is not a situation where you need to give up your mail ballot because we treat the in-person ballot different. They are the same. Nothing has changed about the way that we run our processes here in Douglas County. And I just want people to have confidence in that and recognize that there is a lot that's being said on purpose, and we need to make sure that we kind of combat that.
Wise, sage words, Jamie. All right. Well, thank you so much again for giving us accurate, truthful information about voting. I certainly have learned every time I think I know everything I need to know about voting rights. I learn something new, and oftentimes from you, Jamie. So thank you very much. So Pat, I'll turn the program back over to you.
I want to address. I see in the chat somebody said that I didn't answer the question correctly. We do not check the address on the license. So it is just name and photo. So if the license is not updated, that doesn't matter because we're not checking the address on the license. Does that answer that question?
Looks like it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yes, we got a yes on that. I think Jamie went to go get the puppy. I'm certainly hoping so.
Come here.
Because this has been a rough election. We need a puppy.
We need puppies. Definitely.
We need puppies.
That's our newest puppy right there.
Whoa.
And yeah. And the really cool thing is he is deaf. And so we adopted him on purpose to give him a home as a deaf dog. And so we've learned a lot about how to really use sign and so forth. And then this is...
That's the big dog.
Yeah, that's our big lab that is annoyed by the puppy. So yes, it seems kind of crazy that at a really stressful time we added a puppy, but it's been kind of fun to come home to the puppy.
That sounds like good therapy to me. Okay. Jamie, thank you so much for all that you do and the entire staff. We are very lucky to be well served by our officials. And I think Republican or Democrat or unaffiliated, anybody who votes in Douglas County can do so with a whole lot of confidence that it's going to be well handled. And that's in a year in which there's a whole lot of misinformation out there and a whole lot of apprehension. That is a wonderful gift to have. So please thank your staff. And I always want to make cookies for everybody at election time. And then it's like, oh, would that be seen as a partisan thing? If I brought in half of elephant cookies and half donkeys, would it work? I don't know. But I don't want to be accused of bribing anybody, but you people deserve everything you get. This is including puppies. Thank you very much.
And I want to mention my staff has been amazing. COVID has been really hard on us as we try to, to figure out how we work through this. And they have done just an amazing job. On Wednesday, we will be mailing out almost 30,000 ballots. We have never mailed out that many ballots, and they're ready to go and they're on their way to the post office, and that's a remarkable feat.
That's fabulous. Thank you very much. Thank you all for attending tonight. And I see Ononna says it's amazing, and it is amazing. So please send our thanks. Come back and see us on Wednesday when we meet the Shannons, Shannon Portillo and Shannon Reed, candidates for County Commission, and on Saturday for Senator Tom Holland. After that, we're just going to be busy urging people to vote for a while, but I think we're working on an event for election night. So even though we can't see each other, we can see each other on Zoom perhaps. Thank you all so much. And Jamie, thanks to you and your staff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And the puppy.